Everything wrong with 8-bit Sonic games. Just get the Game Gear all out at once, or Master System, whatever you want to call it. Oh, it's a compilation. There's no way this is all 5 minutes and whatnot.
What do you mean, Did I not complete the level? So, unless you have the manual for this game, how are you supposed to know how the bonus panels work? Some of them are pretty straightforward, like the Sonic one giving you a 1-up and the ring giving you 10 rings, but then you have Robotnik, which just...
Doesn't do anything. There's an exclamation point one that sends us to a special stage, but aside from that one, how do we know how to get these?
You don't. Is it just random? In this version of the game, the Chaos Emeralds are hidden throughout the levels, and you would have no idea of where to go or what to do to find them. Like the original Sonic the Hedgehog, there are only 6 Chaos Emeralds, and there are 6 zones to find them in, 1 per zone. But each zone contains 2 acts, not counting the 3rd act reserved for bosses, and you have no idea what act each emerald is located in. And it's especially weird since this game does have special stages, which, like the original, you can access by passing a goalpost with 50 rings, but their purpose is to get lives. But if you already had special stages, why not put the emeralds here instead of just randomly out in the open?
You didn't want to rip off the original.
I know it's the first boss in the 8-bit version of the very first game, but this has to be one of the worst boss fights in the series. It's just the Eggmobile.
It's not even the freaking...
slowly comes down and then charges at you. There's literally no gimmick to this one. An auto-scroller in a Sonic game? What an absolutely terrible idea. I hope no one tries this concept again 26 years later. This one is a good example of how would you know you can do this to find the Chaos Emerald? Unless you duck earlier in the level, you would never see it, so you wouldn't know it was there, and it's unlikely you'd be willing to ride the log down the waterfall for long enough to see that you can jump to a platform on the left to get it. Also, I just realized that all the Chaos Emeralds are the same color in this game. Ugh, Jungle Zone Act 2. This one sucks. It's a vertical level, which by itself isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's the fact that once the screen reaches a certain position, everything below you is a bottomless pit. It doesn't matter if you were clearly standing on something beforehand and should logically be able to land on it. If you off-screen it, the game now considers it a death plane. Oh, also, this shit is just cruel. You've probably died a couple times in this stage already, so seeing a 1-up there is very enticing. So much so that you're probably blind to the spring they hid behind it, which will undoubtedly lead to another death, and 1-ups don't respawn in this game. And I'm not done bitching about Jungle Zone, by the way, because its boss is incredibly annoying. You're on this dipping vine that Eggman drops cannonballs on, which rock back and forth, meaning you have to hit him while avoiding getting hit. And that sounds easy, but the cannonball moves at a faster pace than he does, meaning you have to either time when to jump in order to hit Robotnik when he's coming down to drop another cannonball and get hit by the finicky fucking hitbox, or try to use the sides of the vine to hit him when he's in the middle, and risk getting hit by the cannonball already on the vine. Sometimes there can briefly be 2 cannonballs on the vine, which is really inconvenient, because at that point, one will be going at the regular speed while the other is slowing down. And after you defeat Eggman, you can still get hit by the ball if it hasn't despawned.
It's
annoying. Labyrinth Zone.
They kept that for some fucking reason.
Oh, that's great. Hardly any invincibility frames, huh? Yeah, so this Chaos Emerald sucks too. You basically have one shot at it because it's inside a set of spikes that you can only get while having an invincibility active. And while there's a little room for error, even when done perfectly, the invincibility ends like a second or 2 later. This sucks too. In Act 3, there's a 1-up at the end of a hallway riddled with spikes, and something I forgot to mention about boss acts in this game is that there are no rings in them, meaning you either have to enter a boss act with a shield from a previous act, or never get hit. Meaning that in order to get this 1-up, you have to maneuver your jumps in water perfectly, get the 1-up, traverse the spikes again in reverse, and then take on the boss. I understand risk versus reward, but the risk heavily outweighs the reward here, because even if you do get the 1-up, if you lose a life on the way back or during the boss fight, you may as well not have even tried, because like I said, 1-ups don't respawn, so you basically have one chance to keep it after you collect it. And it's made worse by the fact that the last jump you have to make coming out is next to impossible, because you'll always jump as tall as the spikes are, meaning you have to land on the platform on the way down, but because you're in water, your momentum probably won't allow you to reach it anyway, meaning that this isn't risk versus reward, this is a trap. So, I could be wrong, and please someone correct me if I am, but I do believe that Scrap Brain Zone Act 3 only has 99 rings, meaning that you are so close to being able to get 2 extra lives in this level, but they specifically made it so you are just 1 ring short. And if I'm right, that's a real shithead move.
A crap brain move, if you will.
Ha.
Sky-based Zone as it stands is already a tough level, what with unrelenting cannons placed in front of lightning rods that can knock you into a bottomless pit if mistimed even once, but this part is the worst, with an Orbonaut placed right in front of the next platform you need to jump to. Now, this Orbonaut is an Uni-Uni, meaning that they're not the kind that shoot out their spikes, so I have to either time my jump perfectly, intentionally take damage and risk getting hit by the lightning or getting knocked off the level, or wait until the slow bastard makes its way enough to the left to let me jump freely. And when I say slow, I mean slow. I've had paint dry faster than this Badnik moves. Skybase's Chaos Emerald is also awful because you have to leap of faith onto a floating platform to the left of the start of Act 2, which you would have no way of knowing was there. While the final boss is tough because the timing of his attacks just seems really awkward, an even sillier issue with it is that I can just phase into Robotnik's protective tube and just wail on him from the inside. That is, of course, until he shoots out his laser ball at me, which will hit me no matter where I am.
Damn.
Sound produce.
Sorry about that.
I didn't know there were vegetables in this game.
Okay, there's gonna be a sin kind of region. 8-bit downgrade. No! And now it's on 2. That's it.
So, fun fact about 8-bit Sonic 2, it was Tails' first appearance in the series, even before the 16-bit counterpart, and the reason that's funny to me is because despite being on the title screen and the title cards of each zone, Tails isn't in the game. In this game.
No, you're actually going to rescue him.
Robotnik and sends a letter to Sonic to come rescue him. Which, by the way, contradicts the opening cutscene of this game, which shows Sonic seeing Tails get kidnapped. So, much like the last game, the Chaos Emeralds are found within the levels, and they're all found in each zone's second act, which is a step up. At least this time, I know not to bother searching in Act 1. But we still run into the issue of not really knowing where to check, and this first Emerald isn't a good start since you essentially have one shot to jump off the minecart and reach the top, but how would you know to do that?
What?
Why would you save us? We were going to die. Isn't that what you want?
Eggman,
okay,
you're really perplexing.
This is one of the worst bosses. Literally, all I have to do is jump in place. Also, fun fact, these bosses are called Master Robots, not to be confused with Mega Man's Robot Masters.
Original concept, do not seal.
Collecting the Emerald in Sky High Zone is one of the fucking dumbest things I've ever had to do in a video game. So you have to bounce off certain cloud platforms, land on other cloud platforms, but you have to make sure they're the right ones because most of the clouds have no collision and they do not look different at all. How are you supposed to know which you can land on and which you'll fall through? Well, if you look closely, you'll see that the ones you can land on have extra puffs in the middle. Oh! And to add insult to injury, you have to bounce off one of the clouds and leap of faith onto the next platform you need to land on. There's challenge, and then there's basically not wanting me to collect this thing. Aqua Lake Zone Act 2 is ass. For starters, it's a water level, and while not quite as infuriating as Labyrinth Zone, this has its own set of problems in the form of using these bubbles to climb vertical sections, which isn't
so glad they brought that back in Mania.
This part of the stage, where you have to maneuver your way into not getting hit by the arrows or the lobsters. Then, just when you think you're safe, you have to book it to the left and keep your bubble while raising through the platforms with spikes on the ceiling that you would have thought you could just jump to, but nope, you need the bubble. On top of that, there are these tunnels that move you really quickly, forcing you to make split-second decisions on where to go. Now, normally that's fine, since you'll still be put on a path to continue the level, but it's less fine when one of these paths leads to the Emerald, which you would have no idea is coming up or how you're supposed to get it.
Yeah.
No, see, because this is Green Hills Zone with an S.
Totally different.
So, something I hadn't mentioned until this point is that slopes that turn into ramps are really weird and different in this game. You know how in the 16-bit games you can use your character's momentum when coming down a slope and then jump off a ramp to rocket through the sky?
Yeah.
In this game, I kept trying to do that and it never worked, but I could tell that I was supposed to be able to do that. And it turns out that you can, but only when you hold down the D-pad because the ramps are supposed to be automatic. I would have brought this up during Underground Zone, but I didn't find out how it worked until this level. Also, I forgot this until writing the script, but the background music for Green Hills Zone is You Can Do Anything, the main theme of the Japanese version of Sonic CD. Or, since this came first, I guess the Japanese version of Sonic CD uses a remixed version of the Green Hills Zone theme with lyrics. Weird.
Good piece of music, though,
either way. Act 3 sucks to navigate. Because of how little you can see on screen, it is rife with leaps of faith after every spring, all in order to even get to the Master Robot. Okay, bullshit. How would I have known I could jump through that wall to get to the next Chaos Emerald?
known.
Okay, who put springs in the middle of a damn...
Never get tired of
Scrambled Egg Zone
that.
is such a cool level aesthetically, but
Oop.
god damn is it a nightmare to navigate. Act 2 has this section with a moving platform and tubes where you have to perfectly time your jumps and what paths you take, otherwise you miss boarding the platform again and basically lose a life because it doesn't respawn while you have
Ooh.
to chill on a bed of spikes. Crystal Egg Zone is a secret level that you can access after collecting all 6 Chaos Emeralds in this game, and your only indication of that is through the manual. Tails specifically tells Sonic in his letter that that's where he's being held and how to reach the
So you
level.
need the manual to
But
figure it
there's
out.
kind of a problem. You would have needed the manual in order to not only know that this level exists and how to get to it, but that you can only collect 5 of the Chaos Emeralds and that Mecha Sonic holds the 6th one. It's especially frustrating that it isn't even mentioned until you read the Scrambled Egg Zone portion of the manual because it's reinforced that you need 6 Chaos Emeralds before then. Also,
Oh, you
this shit
father
drives me
mucker.
up a wall when it comes to talking about these characters. The disparity in the 90s when it came to their names. The
Oh,
final
yeah.
Master Robot is called Mecha Sonic in the original Japanese manual, but they changed it to Silver Sonic in the English manuals. Then, his 16-bit counterpart, who is assumedly not the same character because their designs are significantly
also
different,
Silver
was
Sonic.
also called
Or
Mecha
Mecha
Sonic,
Sonic.
but everyone just calls him Silver Sonic anyway, even though he's never had this name. And then Mecha Sonic Mark II, everyone just calls Mecha Sonic, except for the English box for Sonic and Knuckles, which calls him Metal Sonic, except he can't
Except Metal
possibly
Sonic
be
is
Metal
the
Sonic
same
because
character.
that's the robot from CD.
There's too many robot
Something I neglected
versions
to
of
mention up
Sonic.
until this point is that the boss acts in this game suffer from the same problem that the ones in the last game did, which is that they expect you to defeat the bosses without taking a hit. And I hadn't brought it up because, for the most part, it wasn't a problem. But for the final boss, there's not a chance in hell they thought this was fair. He shoots
Nope.
out floating beams at you that just follow you around. Meanwhile, you have to
Stalkers.
zip your way in a pipe and hit Robotnik at just the right time while avoiding the beams and the electricity he can summon, which covers the
Is that what those
entire
flower
screen.
things are supposed to be?
One
Electricity?
wrong move and you're done. And messing it up is supremely easy to do in this fight.
Wait, somehow did it. Soundosa. Thanks, Asoy? Asohi? Oh, wait. Is it supposed to be
guys,
Japanese?
We still have like a minute worth of credits to go. You could have made the credits theme a little longer.
Or just play it again. Don't worry, Sonic 2 would make up with that in the far future when they made every Sonic's end credits themes obnoxiously long. Except Lost World. Lost World's manageable. It's like 3 minutes. It's fine.
No, see, it's different because it's
Turquoise
Turquoise
Hill
Hill
Zone.
Zone. It's like the bluer version of Green Hill. I know all the levels are pretty short in this game anyway, but why do we just move on to the next act when we finish a special stage? So the Master Robots are back in this game, and the first one we face is a giant Motobug with a spring on its back, which we literally just have to spin dash into. Oh, I'm sorry,
You
did I say
failed
a
to do
giant
once.
Motobug with a spring on its back? Let me call it by its government name. It's a giant Boingobot. Oh, I'm sorry, this boss Boingobot has a specific name? The Ladybug Boss. How did the names get worse each time?
I know,
I'm
right?
sorry, but without the word act and the act number, these results screens make it read like Sonic is dead. The fourth special stage in this game is the worst because it's brutal how little time they give you to
I thought it was like
complete
Sonic Express,
Even
like,
with
yeah,
an
I got
item
an A
that
on my
lets you
test.
temporarily stop time, you have to know exactly what you're doing in order to have enough time to get to where the Chaos Emerald is.
Okay, who put springs in the middle of a damn...
The fifth special stage isn't much better though, because while, yeah, they start you off with the same time stop item, you have no damn clue what path to take with these pipes.
Nope.
You have more than enough time to get to it, but that's only if and when you know what path to take in the first
Yep.
place, which takes time to figure out, and it's not helped by the stupid spring that they put as you exit the pipe leading to the Chaos Emerald.
I hate when they do
Mecha
that.
Green
Dicks.
Hill Zone. You know, people complain that Green Hill Zone is overused nowadays, but what do you mean
Yeah, what do you-
nowadays?
they've always been
Every single
overusing
8-bit
it.
game I've covered so far has had a version of Green Hill Zone in it. This one has 2!
They never stopped overusing it. It just became more noticeable to the mainstream public because we weren't playing the 8-bit games.
Wait. Is that a remix of You Can Do Anything from Sonic CD? Oh, I'm sorry. Is that a remix of the theme of Green Hill Zone from Sonic 2?
God.
Which was also the fourth stage in that game, featuring a version of Green Hill Zone?
Huh.
Huh.
Should this have been
Ooh,
Mecha
a
Green
fresh
Hills Zone?
pie? Save me a slice. That's good. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's... Alright, that's good. Okay. Alright, okay, alright. Okay, that's good.
So it
That's
keeps
good.
cutting up the frickin'
It's-
pizza slices.
It's enough slices!
I remember that bite.
Wait. This music sounds like the boss music from the Game Gear version of Sonic 2.
Oh god, they're ripping off
Which
themselves.
also sounds like the Japanese music for Metallic Madness from Sonic CD.
Oh god.
Why do these three games all derive such specific songs from each other?
Yeah, right?
Also, this boss can kiss my ass. It really doesn't seem like it's that hard, but bouncing off Eggman while hitting him will almost guarantee that you get hit by one of the Gemini Man lasers he sends out.
Nice Mega Man reference.
Miles Power? Who the fuck is that? I know a Miles Prower.
Got white power, black power, Miles power. Honestly, not that many scenes, but that's because the game is like 20 minutes. Now fight the robot masters. Oh god.
Oh, fuck me. You made an 8-bit version of this shit?
Sadly,
Why is
yes.
Sonic holding onto the tornado? Sure.
Mm.
Why is he holding
Sure.
onto the tornado's
Just to
landing
make it
gear?
easier.
There's no way in hell that's comfortable.
Mm-mm.
Ugh, you didn't even have the decency to try and arrange the good music from Toxic Caves. And I know this is technically Toxic Pools. Fuck you. It's the same level minus the stupid minecart garbage. But you know what they did keep consistent? The fact that the Chaos Emeralds are all blue. The Game Gear and Master System were capable of more color than that. Also, do you notice that every time the Chaos Emeralds all have the same color, it's always blue for some reason? And not, you know, green?
The
like
color of an
emerald?
actual emerald.
Okay, I know that I complained in the 16-bit version about how the bonus stages in your pinball game were more pinball, but what the hell is this? Why the hell is this? And the physics in this. Oh my god! Spin dashing is your best form of traversal, and even that makes no sense. Normally, you can hold down and retain your speed so that you can go even higher on the opposite wall, but here I have to hug the wall in order to go further up it. Like, what? And speaking of the physics, god damn! You know your game sucks when the only time it resembles actual pinball is when you speed up the gameplay by 200%.
Speed up by 200% and make it, you know, a confusing mess where you're just struggling to catch where the ball is going.
What just happened? This Chaos Emerald in the machine is such a pain in the urethra to get, which deserves a sin on its own, but I was trying so hard to get it that I sooner shot Sonic into the level,
Oh my God.
causing me to soft lock in this game. No matter what I did, jump, move, it didn't matter because I was stuck, and my only option was to reset the game and do the first 2 levels all over again. All because you put the Chaos Emerald in such a difficult to reach and narrow path.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Don't look at me like that, you impatient little shit. I want this to be over just as bad as you do. And it was while playing this level that I realized just why I hate this game so much.
I give
16-bit
Sorry
version
5 actually
obviously
playing
included.
the game
If I may be
himself
frank,
and
which I
not
can't because
just-
that's not my name, the reason I hate this game is because in regular pinball,
I
your
give-
objective is to score
yeah.
a massive number of
I
points.
give Sorry
similar
Craig
to a
for playing the
retro
game himself
arcade
and not
game
just,
or
you
the
know, ripping it
endless
off from
games
YouTube or
that contemporary mobile
something.
games tend to have. The reason they're endless is because the point is to make your score increase, and while that scoring system was still present in this game, and hell, it was present in a lot of console games at the time, and even to this day, the system was a remnant of an archaic design that incentivized competition. You wanted to get more points than other people who play the game. However, with consoles becoming the norm, the object of video games shifted to a more narrative one, where you had a clear beginning and a clear end, so score didn't really matter for these kinds of games.
Nah.
The objective now became, can you beat the game, as opposed to, can you beat other people who play this game? In regular pinball, there are obviously parts of the board you want to aim for because they net you more points, but more importantly, you want to keep your ball in play, meaning anything you hit is an advantage. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you're still getting more points
close.
even if you're not hitting the things you're aiming for. In Sonic Spinball, it's not about getting points, but about navigating Sonic to very specific parts of the board in
get
order
the
to
Chaos
collect items
Emeralds,
you need
yeah.
in order to proceed to the boss in order to complete the game, which is difficult to do when you have minimal influence over his control in midair. Even when you're not good at it, pinball is still fun because you can compete with yourself and see the number go up on each
I like
attempt.
pinball,
Sonic
legitimately.
Spinball is frustrating because you're always at odds with the layout of the levels and trying to get Sonic to where he needs to go. Even getting Chaos Emeralds doesn't feel satisfying because that's just a part of what you're doing. Once that's done, you not only need to survive and keep your ball in play, but you need to reach and play against the level's respective boss, which is way easier said than done. While I'm by no means saying that I think pinball is luck-based, once Sonic hits something,
No, I don't think so.
it's kind of out of your hands. You just
Luck
have
is
to
a
pray that
factor,
you're
of
able
course,
to
but
catch
this is
him with
no
the flippers
crane
and be
game.
given the
This
opportunity
feels
to try
far
again.
more fair.
And that's just not fun in an
Sometimes it
objective-based
feels like
game
utter
this.
bullshit, I will
To
admit.
piggyback off that rant, I had the absolute misfortune of dropping out of the boss area, and while that didn't cost me a life, thank God,
Yeah,
when I
right.
went back into the boss area, the boss's hit points reset. Meaning I basically
No.
had to do the boss all over, and I was almost done the first time.
Damn it! What happened?
What? The fuck did I just collect? I don't care. I don't have the energy to care.
Fair
Final
enough.
Showdown may not be as ass as its 16-bit counterpart, which was mega ass, but it's still ass nonetheless. And you know, speaking of the 16-bit version, it's so interesting to compare these two because this one has smaller boards and less things to hit, making it more straightforward, but the controls are about 5 times worse, so it weirdly evens out. I genuinely couldn't tell you which one I think is worse, and I think that that's just a testament to how bad I think both these games are. Credit where credit is due, pun not intended, this is a pretty creative credit sequence.
Yeah, it's on a pinball
That
board.
notwithstanding, this is probably the worst way I've ever seen credits be presented in anything ever.
Isn't that the absence music at the end? I want to say thank you for plating. Now go to sleep?
sleep?
What the hell? What
Why,
is this, a
because
3DS
this
game?
is so boring? And don't tell me what to fucking do, game. You're nowhere near decent enough to
It's
do
like
that.
a modern Nintendo game telling you to take a break every 15 minutes. Ugh. No thank you. Oh boy, spin ball. Why the hell am I driving a car? I'm sorry, Sonic Drift. It better be a fucking minute. There's not much to say.
No, see, because it's different. Nah, because it's different.
I don't
'cause
mind
we're
it
in a
that
car
much.
in
It's
this
in
one.
spin-offs,
Why
like,
you can
you
do
know.
anything just a constant in the 8-bit games? It's not a bad song. I'm just so curious why we've only
Yeah, I
ever
know,
seen
right?
it in one main series.
I don't mind them
game,
bringing
but
back the
apparently a lot
old-fashioned
of the
levels
spin-offs
and
at the time
spin-offs,
loved
though.
using
That's
it for some
fine.
reason.
Yeah, they're like the one
I'll
place
admit,
I don't
I'm probably
bitch
like
a
one
love
of 2
over.
people on planet Earth that enjoys this game once I got used to the controls,
Yeah.
but this one goes out to all my homies who don't like this game. Man, isn't it bullshit that your map is like half the screen? Like, dude, not gonna lie, it's kinda ass how you can't see more than like 3 feet ahead of you.
Yeah.
Why is Sonic in car? He can fast more than vehicle. Why are all the levels from Sonic 1? Where's Knuckles?
See, was it in
Sonic
Sonic 1?
had a rough
Amy, however.
transition to 3D. This is just Mario Kart, but bad.
Okay, this is starting to be my
I'm
favorite
sorry, I
one.
just kind of enjoy this game, and there's not much to say about it. Whoa, what?
Eh, it's not a terrible game.
got
It's a racing
congratulations.
game. It's hard to fuck
I
up.
just wanted footage of all the tracks. I didn't realize that beating all the Grand Prix would get me a credit sequence.
I guess there was a plot. Sonic Drift doesn't suck as a racing game. It's hard to fuck those up. Anyway, back to the main stuff. Triple Trouble. 5 minutes.
See, because, like, this one
Great
doesn't even have
turquoise.
hill in the name, meaning it's very different, even though the color scheme is exactly the same.
You can
So
even
the
make it
Chaos Emeralds,
turquoise?
unlike the last game, Sonic Chaos,
What, the
are
sky
back to being
turquoise?
found throughout the levels, like Sonic 1 and 2, and we'll touch on that in a bit, but man, this first location requires chaining some springs that are really hard to hit because of the screen crunch. But as I was saying, you know how we often think about Sonic 1, CD 2, and 3 as being a tetralogy of sorts?
Sort of.
I think that Sonic 1, 2, Chaos, and Triple Trouble are on the same boat, mostly because Triple Trouble is a direct sequel to Chaos, and Chaos borrows a lot of elements directly from Sonic 2, and it has the same quirk that the 16-bit tetralogy had in that the first 2 games had you collect Chaos Emeralds in the exact same way, in this case by finding them throughout the levels, aside from Sonic 2 only featuring them in each zone's second act and lacking special stages altogether. Chaos had you collect 100 rings, and each special stage was different, featuring its own unique gimmick. Each special
it's
stage
once
is
you collected
technically
100
different in
rings, you
Triple
were
Trouble as
automatically
well,
sent to
except that they
special stage.
alternate between 2 gameplay styles. One centered around platforming, and the other centered around collecting rings in the tornado, with the difference being in how you access the special stage being that every act, again, barring boss acts, has you break an emerald monitor while carrying 50 or more rings, kinda how like the 16-bit Sonic 2 does it with the checkpoints. My question is, what are the rules, damn it? Why do each of these games have slightly different ways of collecting the Chaos Emeralds?
Okay, who put springs in the middle of a damn...
We interrupt Sonic Triple Trouble to bring you Sonic 3, except it's somehow the ending of both of Angel Island Zone's acts. Special Stage 3 introduces invisible platforms that only appear once you land on them, and I have no idea why they would think people's first instinct would be to land on the water tiles when they're clearly a background object everywhere else. We interrupt Triple Trouble to bring you Donkey Kong Country. Special Stage 5 blows because, to my knowledge, it's the only special stage where a single mistake can compromise your entire attempt, which is especially rough when you're playing through it the first few times, not knowing where to go or what mistakes you can make. I'm all for punishing the player for making a mistake, but I'm also for allowing them to learn from it.
Yeah, right.
Usually they're allowed to try again immediately, or at least have the time to mend their mistake, but here, one wrong move can force you to have to try again on the next stage, and you don't have many attempts left. Assuming you've gotten an emerald in every act like I have, you're already almost halfway through the game, only having 7 attempts left, and that's assuming that you can find the Chaos Emerald monitor and keep at least 50 rings on you. We interrupt Metagem Lyra Zone to bring you Collision Chaos Zone.
Yeah,
You know,
seriously.
it's only now that I'm seeing it a second time that I realize Knuckles would never do this, especially when it happened to him. Why the fuck would Knuckles burn down a jungle, even if it was just to
Yeah,
eliminate
seriously,
Sonic?
why would he do this?
Ice Cap
if I
Zone.
can't win,
Robotnik
no one
Winter
can.
is just Ice Cap Zone.
Yeah.
So, fun fact about this boss.
Ice Cap
it's
Zone is
called
cool, though,
the
that's
Giga
fine.
Thomas
Oh, no, I
Pen,
totally-
and
What?
after learning that, I can no longer take it seriously.
You were
And
taking
that
it
made me
serious before?
curious about the other bosses in this game. We have Tart Turtle, which, okay,
that's
that's a little silly, but
that's
not
fine.
far-fetched as far as video games go. Marvishopopolis Go, which more than makes up for Tart Turtle. What the
Yeah.
hell were the sounds that just came out of my mouth?
Fun to say, though.
Rundorf, which sounds like they were setting up for a pun and gave up halfway through.
Yeah, right.
And then the man himself, Giga Thomas Penn. So, aside from being a semi-Labyrinth Zone clone, the thing I most dislike about Tidal Plant Zone is that they bring back the Rising Bubble mechanic from Aqua Lake Zone in Sonic 2,
No.
but with a vengeance. It's made
worse here?
especially harder because Triple Trouble didn't have a Master System
Oh,
release,
no.
and while the screen crunch doesn't make this too much harder, you still have to navigate your way using this bubble and won't always know what's above you, which normally isn't a problem, except for the fact that this one really lives up to the Labyrinth name, where I'm not always sure where to go, made more difficult by the fact that everything looks the same. I don't really show it here, but Tidal Plant Act 2 has this really stupid gotcha moment at the end, where you'll be super confident in continuing the stage and the floor just collapses on you out of nowhere.
Ah.
It's not that you can't see it coming, it's that you most likely won't because of what you've just had to do.
That's probably why he
Man,
jumped
Isaac never
right
really
there.
realized how un-Knuckles-like Knuckles is in this game. I don't think he'd ever use a mech to fight anyone. He'd just take them on with his fists.
Probably.
And I gotta say, this is one of the most annoying fights in the series. Not necessarily because it's difficult, not because it's easy, but because it's one of the first fights you have to defeat while constantly running, and while it's debatable whether or not that's a fun gameplay style for bosses, it's immediately worsened when you have to do it underwater where your speed is gimped. Not to mention that because of that, I constantly got hit by Knuckles' missiles. I was always able to collect a ring after that because they don't go
There's something
flying, thank
different
God,
at
but
least,
it just
but,
got
yeah,
annoying to
it's
have to
good
hit
thing we never
him,
brought
get a
this
bubble,
back
get hit, get the ring, and
nostalgia,
repeat the
of
cycle
course.
all while underwater.
Remember when this
Okay,
sucked?
who puts springs in the middle of a dam?
Remember when this
I
sucked?
hadn't thought
Everything
about
was
this
such a
until
work.
now, but if you haven't gone to a special stage, Fang kind of just comes out of nowhere in Atomic Destroyer Zone
Yeah,
Act
right.
3. You never see him outside of the special stage before this point. He's not in the
Maybe he
opening
should have been there
cutscene,
instead of
not on the
Knuckles.
title screen.
Hmm.
He has no reason to be here. The last phase of the final boss sucks
Yep.
because you constantly need to veer left and right in order to successfully hit Robotnik. Technically, you could stay on one side, but you'll most likely get hit when Eggman comes up through the pipe. And you can't stay still when outside the pipes because you have lasers that are constantly shooting at you. And because you can't stay in one place for too long, it's likely that you'll miss attacking him when he does show up on the opposite side. It's not hard, it's just not fun.
God, that face was fun. Get burned by Nickels. Oh boy, the other Sonic Drift game. This will be fun. Oh, look at the stars going around the steering wheel like you're turning it. That's nice.
Nah, see, because, like, it's the one from the 16-bit Sonic 2, and we're all in cars, so it's
Yeah,
not the
right?
same. Okay, I know I made the Mario Kart joke in the first Sonic Drift, but Dark Valley is just straight-up Ghost Valley from Super Mario
More or
Kart.
less.
Oh my god, they even both have Valley in the game. The rubber banding in this game is wild. Like, I get it, the first game was really easy, but god damn, dude, I was in first almost this entire race, and
Yeah,
the game
right.
just shoots ahead of me. Oh my god, yeah, this shit. Iron Ruin has the Mecha Vulture, which can latch onto you and slow you down, and Jesus, is it annoying. Hold on, what is that saying?
Oh, there's a typo.
I know you didn't have all the space in the world, but you missed a K in there, guys.
Could have
So
done
I'm
Knuckle.
checking the manual, and I don't think there's a single time it's ever mentioned that in order to beat the game, you have to beat all 3 Chaos Grand Prix and place first in every race.
Oh,
during the
dang
Boom
it.
GP. In the last game, you just had to end up as champion of every Grand Prix, but that's not enough in this one. You need to come in first on every track, and then beat the final race against Eggman or Sonic, depending on which character you're racing as.
I recognize that little tune, though. I don't remember where, though. Got it. Oh boy, the best Sonic game ever made. 8 minutes. Oh boy, we're gonna be here a while.
Why is anything related
This is
to
the
word
longest
labyrinth in
one.
the context of Sonic just For once, just once, I'd love to be able to say, ah yes, the good labyrinth in
Yeah,
a Sonic
right.
game. Much like Drift, though, I don't really dislike this game.
It's
but
not
I will
terrible, it's
admit
just not a
this game
Sonic
raises
game.
a ton of questions, primarily of which, why is Sonic so goddamn slow in this game? And, man, I want to make this a video of its own where I just read through the Sonic manual.
Yeah, right.
This game kinda needs the manual to contextualize a bunch of stuff. Sonic is slow in this game because Robotnik came to the realization that he always loses to Sonic because of his speed. So he creates a special pair of boots that look identical to Sonic's regular shoes with the explicit purpose of making him slow. And you know what? Fair game, not the weirdest thing in the world. Except, how and when would you have swapped out
snuck
Sonic's
into his
shoes with
house.
Dr. Eggman's Deluxe Speed Down boots? Yes, that is their government name. Also, it says in the manual that Sonic noticed the difference immediately, which, yeah, makes sense.
Why do you go along with it?
The way he found out Eggman was behind it was because the narcissistic motherfucker put his logo on the shoes. And I'm sure we're all thinking the same thing. Well, if the shoes are what are making Sonic slow, why doesn't he just take them off? Well, apparently, Eggman made the boots with the power of the Chaos Emeralds, making it so that Sonic physically cannot take them off. And how the hell does
You've
that
made a wish
work?
on the Dragon
So
Boss.
we've established that the Chaos Emeralds can do a bunch of things, but never did I think they could make shoes. And I can't believe that's why we're after the Chaos
To take
Emeralds
Sonic's
around.
shoes
Simply
off.
be able to make Sonic take the damn shoes off. And you might be
Smartest
wondering,
one ever
well, okay,
made.
That's all well and good, but why the labyrinth? How does that factor into
Eggman made it.
Well, you see, this is a game where Eggman already has 6 of the Chaos Emeralds, evidenced by the fact that he used them in his time as a cobbler to make
His
Sonic's
time as a
speed down boots.
cobbler.
The labyrinth isn't just Dr. Eggman's domain, it's the thing he's been trying to do since the very beginning.
This is his master
Guys,
plan.
non-binary pals, is Eggman Land. I'm not
Oh
kidding.
my
The
God.
first time we ever see Eggman Land fully realized in this series is in this isometric puzzle game.
This is the greatest
You might
game
also
ever
be wondering,
made.
Well, where's Tails? Couldn't he help Sonic get the Chaos Emeralds
Hyperbole.
back? The dumb bastard is on vacation. Yep. That's all the manual says.
On
And presumably
vacation,
This
that's
game
great.
and Tails' Sky Patrol are happening concurrently, hence why Sonic isn't in that game. And man, what a raw deal for both games. I'm slowing this footage down for safety measures, but did the Speed
Yeah.
Shoes item really have to flash these obnoxious bright lights? People have epilepsy, man. This cannon in Labyrinth of the Sea Zone Act 1 is really confusing because normally it shoots you in the direction of the rest of the stage, but it also shoots you to the end of the stage where the goal door is. It'll only do that, though, when you shoot Sonic into another cannon and then back into the first
Makes
one.
sense, right?
Labyrinth of the Sea Zone Act 2 is the first time we see something really stupid that this game
Only
does.
now?
It has doors that can lead to entirely different doors than the one you entered from.
I've
By
actually
that
played
I
this
mean that
game,
when
though.
you enter
This
a
is like
door, you
$2
get
in the
teleported to
Nintendo
another door
3DS
somewhere else on the
shop.
stage, and that by itself is fine. It makes sense. But sometimes when you go back through the same door, you wind up in a totally different part of the stage, not the one where you originally entered. And while this level is the smallest offender in terms of this mechanic, it's one that gets way worse in future levels. Oh, Labyrinth of the Sea Zone Act 3. This one has a bonus door that we've never seen before or will ever see again, and the only way you'll know how to access it is if you beat the game, which normally is fine. It incentivizes replayability, but in this case, it's really stupid, because this bonus door has one of the Chaos Emeralds. At least, I think it does, because the manual doesn't say anything about a Chaos Emerald being there, nor can you actually collect one in the bonus stage. But without getting to the bonus stage, you don't get the good ending of this game, which, again, the manual says nothing
Naturally.
about. In fact, the manual is wrong, because it says that there are 2 special doors, which is incorrect,
Oops.
because the only one that exists is in this act. And okay, at least it does tell you that you might receive a hint on how to access this door if you beat the game, so what's the hint?
1 and 2, then the right key.
1 and 2
The hell
and
does that
right
even
key.
mean?
In Zone 2-3, Fuji 1 go. What does
Exactly.
that mean? Like, yes, I understand what it is I'm supposed to do, but what kind of a hint is this? For starters, we collect keys in this game in order to complete stages, so calling right on the D-pad the right key would make someone think that they need to get a key to the right of a stage. Also, 1 and 2 and right key is a singular concept because of the use of an exclamation point. It seems entirely separate from in Zone 2-3 Fuji 1 Go, and I think that explains why the manual says there are 2 bonus stage doors. They must have thought these were 2 separate hints too. Also, even assuming that you somehow understood that you needed to press 1 and 2 and right on the D-pad in Zone 2-3, how would you know where to do that? The only unique thing in this level are the enemies and the cannons, so you would guess the cannon and you'd be right, but you would also need to know to hold these buttons before Sonic gets shot out. Also, I am begging someone, for the love of God, to tell me what the f*** Fuji 1 Go means.
Is it
because I am
Japanese?
stumped. Initially, I assumed that it was a pseudonym for the developer who left the hint. But then, as I scoured through the credits, that's not a name I found anywhere. Fuji and Go have a bunch of different meanings in Japanese depending on how you write them, so I have no idea how any English speaker is supposed to interpret this. Especially because, due to the 2 separate screens and the separation by way of exclamation point, it seems like the game is telling you that in Zone 2-3 you're supposed to Fuji 1 Go, but I don't know what the that
Talk
means.
to a batting that's
Did
called
you know that
Fuji
if
One
you
Go.
pause in this game that you can scroll around and see the entirety of
Really?
the map, which isn't very useful considering that all on-screen objects get despawned, so I can't even see where
What's
the
the
keys
point?
are anyway. It's especially useless in this level because I have no way of knowing where the teleporters lead until I use them. Labyrinth of the Factory Zone Act 3 has the stupidest key to collect in my opinion because remember the pause mechanic I literally just talked about? Unless you know about it beforehand, you wouldn't know that it would help you find this platform all the way to the bottom left of the map, where a teleporter will take you to where one of the keys is, but by doing that, you still wouldn't know that in order to get there, you have to wait for a platform to show up to take you to said teleporter. And you most likely won't have run past the teleporter because I am convinced that the platform doesn't move unless you wait there. I was spinning around for so long trying to find the last key and a way to get to the top platform until I stopped moving and it showed up. So it'll rarely happen, but there is a non-zero chance that if you get hit and your keys fall off the stage, you have to go all the way back to where they spawned and collect them again. Usually it's not a big deal, but in the end game where you have pretty big levels and doors that do that thing I talked about earlier, it can be a
I haven't played this game in a while. I mean, I didn't play it. I didn't play it in a while.
Labyrinth of the Castle Act 3. This is the worst level in this game, and it's mostly because of the doors. While the level itself is big, navigating it sucks because I don't know where any door is going to lead me to, especially because sometimes multiple doors can lead to the same door, meaning I have to trial and error this level while trying to remember where I've been, what doors I've gone through, figure out where the keys are, and where the gold door is. And I know that all sounds like the same complaints I've had for the past levels, but this is the worst version of all those things.
You can't get back up.
The only thing that could have made it worse is if I had to Fuji One Go in this level. I really don't get the point of the smiley bomb dropping smaller bombs. I can just stay in the middle and they'll never hit me. It is perfect.
Not this game. Ha!
No, it's not. And you want to know the difference between the endings? There are three. The first is the colors. It's orange for the good ending and blue for the bad ending, which...
Neat.
Cool. Second is the text that you get at the end, with the bad ending tell you, but it was not perfect, and to try again, which is the equivalent of just having the words good ending on your screen despite nothing having really changed. And finally, instead of getting the hint on how to access the bonus stage, the good ending gives you the level select code, which why the f would I want that?
Yeah, seriously.
The game to the best of my ability. What use would I get out of that other than being able to record the bad ending more easily?
Yeah, you really want to play Sonic Labyrinth again, don't you? Fuji One Go, perfect. Oh god, no. Sonic Blast. I have this one too, because we're like $3 on the Nintendo 3DS shop. 6 minutes. There's only 5 Chaos Emeralds?
What? That's not how the Chaos
Emeralds at
work.
all.
Is this where the second Sonic movie got that idea? That the Chaos Emeralds can be stored
Why
inside
would you take from
emerald?
the... Oh, friggin'.
Nah, no, see, it's different, because this time it looks like absolute garbage. And wow, do I mean that. Sonic Blast has a really interesting history. It was developed by Aspect, the studio that worked on 8-Bit Sonic 2, Sonic Chaos, Sonic the Hedgehog's Game World, Triple Trouble, and Tails Adventure. And every single one of those games not only looks and sounds better than this game, but all of them came out before this one, so they absolutely should have known better by this point. Not to mention, they kind of make it seem like this game has something to do with Traveler's Tales' Sonic 3D Blast.
No.
Because the sprites as well as the box art are based off of the pre-rendered 3D models used in that game, but in Japan, this was known as G-Sonic, not just because Sonic the Hedgehog is a motherfucking G, but I'm assuming because it stood for the Game Gear, which this was released
Makes sense.
In the West, however, it was called Sonic Blast and was released only a month after 3D Blast, so I wouldn't blame anyone for assuming that this was a handheld version of that game, except for the fact that it has nothing to do with Sonic 3D Blast. They're two entirely separate games. And I did say that this game was released for the Game Gear, which is true, but over a year after its release, because the Master System was huge there, a Brazilian game company called Tectoy made a Master System port of the game, which is what I'm playing on, and it's...
The Brazilians love their Master
version.
System.
The colors aren't as nice, and so many screens like the title screen, character select, title cards for the zones, and the results screen all retain the original Game Gear resolution. It almost makes you wonder why they even bothered. Like, the only advantage this has over the Game Gear version is that the screen crunch isn't
Master
as
System
bad.
was the best thing that ever happened
Even
in Brazil.
that's not saying much, because it's still pretty bad on account of how massive the sprites are. And it is
That and the Jaguar,
slow.
I think.
You remember how
Brazilians
I
love
said
modding
the 8-bit Sonic
everything.
normal when viewed at 200%?
I'm not trying to be racist,
The
I'm just trying to
same
give
is true
them
for this
legitimate
game.
credit.
I'm watching it at twice the speed and it... almost looks like a Sonic game.
Almost.
And the way they handle Chaos Emeralds in this game. So
Yeah.
every zone has a donut that you can find that sends you to a special stage. I call it a donut because that is not
Yep.
a special ring. Like Triple Trouble, you can only find one of these in every act, but like Sonic 2, only the ones in Act 2 can get you Chaos Emeralds. The ones in Act 1 just get you extra lives, and weirdly enough, both special stages in each zone's Act 1 and Act 2 are the
Really?
exact same, with the only difference being what you get at the end. And if you fail it, that's it. No Chaos Emerald for you, no more chances to get it. Which, to be fair, other Aspect games did too, but you really feel it in this one since the special stages, while not difficult, aren't super generous
Not really,
with their
no.
rings, which sucks because the depth perception in
It's a
them is
bitch.
skewed and can definitely throw you off. Also, the special stages themselves are also only in the original Game Gear resolution. This is a minor nitpick, big shocker, I know. But I kinda hate the sound effect for hitting Eggman in this
Ding.
game. Again, other Aspect games had the same issue. In some cases, it was worse because you basically had no visual feedback, but for some reason, it just annoys me more here. And I think it's because the graphics are so different that you would think the sound effect would
Maybe.
be too. I just feel like it's a sound effect that should play when you've reflected off of Eggman's mech, not one that plays when you've successfully hit him. Okay, I know what he's doing, but the 8-bit compression of the sprite
It does
is
kind of. I was
throwing
doing
me
the
off.
thinking
So,
thing.
I don't know if this is an oversight or not, but I broke a monitor with a Robotnik mark, and nothing happened. Aren't I supposed to take damage or lose all my rings or something? Like a lot of
Visibility
the other
frames,
8-bit
I
games,
guess.
You can get different plates on the goalpost, and sometimes you can get
Ooh.
Supersonic, which is weird, because not only is Supersonic not in this game, he's never been in any of the
Yeah, so
8-bit
it's weird that
games
he's
before this
there.
one. Blue Marine Zone. Not a Labyrinth clone, but god damn it might as well be.
Tubes.
You thought Sonic was slow before? You haven't seen
Yeah, this is the
shit.
worst level in the game.
And Act 1 isn't even that bad. No, it's Act 2
Yes.
that can piss right off. You have tubes with invisible currents that can make you restart an entire section. Vertical platforming, where you'll have no idea where to find an air bubble pocket. And the one that really grinds my gears is this shit, where you have to walk through what clearly looks like a solid wall in order to
I know,
advance
right?
the level. You know, if Robotnik just didn't do anything.
Yeah,
on
right. He's the one
ground,
that caused the air
Turbo
bubbles
Castle
to
Zone features a
spawn.
bunch of maze-like elements that I cannot imagine are fun to deal with on the Game Gear version. You know what? Let's actually find out, because I can just boop, zoom in,
Nope.
and oh no, there's no way anyone found this fun. You know, I really do not like this boss with the constantly shifting camera to show me what Eggman's about to do. This would be way cleverer if both Sonic and Eggman were on screen. Not better,
True.
just cleverer. Also, I truly hate how little feedback you have for this boss. It takes so many hits that I genuinely couldn't tell if I was doing the right thing or not.
I think it's a
now
cool boss
it
idea,
is
though.
time for one of the
Yeah, I
worst
fucked this boss.
fucking boss fights I've ever played in one of these games. If you collected all 5 Chaos Emeralds, you get to, and I use the term get to very loosely here, fight this thing, which doesn't even have the courtesy of having a proper name. They give you 99
Called Egg
rings in this fight,
Buzzsaw or
effectively giving
something.
you 10 hit points, and you're going to need them. Because despite the fact that I am playing the Master System
Too much screen
version,
crunch.
you have to fight this boss in the original Game Gear resolution, meaning the screen is crunched up the ass, making it difficult for me to see where I'm landing after I jump on the platform and onto Eggman. Because landing on him isn't necessarily the hard part. The hard part is landing in between his 2 drill
Yep,
holes,
'cause we
because
can't see it 'cause
95%
it's
of
above the
time,
screen.
Even when I do hit the cockpit, I bounce off and hit the drill horns anyway. And it doesn't help that anything and everything can damage me in this fight, giving me very little real estate for me to be safe from harm. And as if that weren't bad enough, after enough hits, the platform you need to jump off of, which can also hurt you by the way, starts moving too. Meaning that you now not only have to time where Eggman has moved to, you also need to account for where the platform you're standing on is.
Such a great game. Okay, then we got like one more unless the next 2 are, you know, like 1 or 2 minutes. Ugh. Tectoy resolution changes. Ugh. Hey, this one's actually good.
Nah, see, cause like, hold on, cause like, it doesn't even have Green or Hill in the name, just where Green Hill takes place. But see, cause like, it was made by the people who made Fatal Fury, so it's like, different. Okay, but real talk, this game is so good that I genuinely don't think I can even
Yeah, it
make
is
fun of
legitimately
The
good.
most I can point out is how these stages are
Made by
mostly
Dimps,
taken
so
directly
you know
from
it's good.
16-bit Sonic 2
Well,
with music mostly
mostly
from
good.
Sonic 3, and all of it is good. I can't even fault it for reusing the special stages from 16-bit Sonic 2. The rings they give you are pretty generous.
It's
and
so
give you
nice
a
to end
pretty
all of
good
that
indication of where the
shitstorm
range
on a
and obstacles
genuinely
show up
good
in time for
thing,
you
you
to
know?
react. I don't know why they insist on bringing those special stages back. Oh, that's one. Ding! Oh, here's another one. The first few special stages don't bother changing the color of the special stage, but they do in later ones. What's up with
Questionable.
that? Something else about the special stages, and I can't believe that's basically all I've talked about in this one, is that the motif for getting them in this game is to again finish an act with 50 or more rings. Like a lot of the other 8-bit games, you don't collect all of the Chaos Emeralds in the special stages, but you do collect 6, and you can only get to a giant ring in Act 1, meaning you basically only have 7 opportunities to get them.
Playing Mushroom
If you
Hill
mess up
Zone
a
in the
special stage
background.
twice, that's it. You can't get
Oh,
all
damn.
the Chaos Emeralds, which is a shame because this game doesn't just have a good ending, it has a whole extra boss level for doing so.
Okay, who put springs in the middle of a damn
Never get sick of
This
that.
caught me completely off guard, and I think it's amazing. But why are we fighting?
Yes.
Like, seriously, I tried looking in the manual to see why Knuckles had beef with us this time, and it turns out this game doesn't even
No,
have
not
a
really.
story.
Just redoing Sonic 3's plot, I guess. Oh. I forgot he did that! So you can...
God damn! Knuckles punched
He
us
did once
so
knock
hard
the
that we
Super
ended up
Sonic
in the
out of us.
sky,
He is
so
that
high up, in
strong.
fact, that we ended up landing on the tornado. Sonic's head should have been ripped off its fucking body. Also, it's very convenient that Tails just so happened to be flying the tornado directly above where Sonic and Knuckles were fighting.
Because they gave a
It's kinda
transition.
weird that Sky Chase Zone and Aero Base Zone are still technically considered Act 1 and Act 2 respectively, even though they're two completely
right?
separate zones. Very convenient that Mecha Sonic just so happened to come back to life with the explicit purpose of allowing us
It's
to
very
go
kind
into
of
the
him.
Angel Zone. Ugh, you just had to make this as authentic as possible, didn't
Slicers.
you? You even kept the slicers annoying as hell to
Yeah.
avoid. Special Stage 6 is a bitch. I know I said that the special stages in this game are pretty
Ooh.
generous and have good enough draw distance for the player to react to what's coming up, but this is the exception. Gigantic Angel Zone's boss is pretty tough, not only because he drops
You're
bombs
supposed
and
to stay on the
releases scatter shots that end up
explosions.
covering the entire stage, and you can only hit him when he dips, but sometimes he shoots the beams or drops the bombs as he's dipping, making it tricky to not get hit when it's time to hit him. And okay, technically that's not true because you can also reach him by standing on the explosion left by his bombs, but how do you stand on an explosion? Why would anyone
Because
think
cool
to
guys
do
don't look at
that?
explosions, but they
Something about the
stand
last
on
Utopia boss
them.
that you're never told and that you in fact just kind of have to figure out somehow is that in order to get the last Chaos Emerald from Eggman, you have to attack the Emerald. In every other game where Robotnik has held the last Emerald, the way we
This
get
is a
it is
Big
simply
Arm
by
remake.
defeating him. But here, we have to actively avoid hitting him until we get the Emerald. Which is cool, but how the hell would you figure that out if not by complete accident?
Just by accident. That's the only way you do it. And again, I'm glad we did Sonic Mania Light, yeah, basically. Glad we ended on a positive note.
here.
Stop it
so much
there.
for watching my
But yeah, the Game Gear games, they're a mixed bag to say the least. They're mostly crap, but there's a couple gems in there, here and there. Honestly, I kind of wish that Sega called back to this era a bit more than they did the 16-bit games, although I do understand why they go back to 16-bit games. They had a much better quality of stuff, you know. Guess good if they don't pull nostalgia from everything, though. Hey, but I'm just glad we ended on a positive note with Sonic Pocket Adventure, honestly. So yeah. Alright, that's all I gotta say. That's all with the gaming sins, everything wrong with Sonic for now. Until next time, later.